Hello and welcome to Bulle Crypto. Bulle Crypto is a podcast about cryptocurrencies in French. In this episode, we interviewed Jonathan Bushnell, who is the CEO of LIFElabs and previous CEO of Pure Living Homes. The interview was in English, so we decided to publish an English version of the interview. During this interview, we explored life's history, challenges, projects, and future, and even got some exclusive news about the short-term plans of life. We hope you will enjoy this interview. Oh, and heads up, we realized after the recording that there was a buzzing noise at around minute 4. It will only last for about 2 minutes though, and after that the sound quality should be just perfect again. Hi John, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for speaking with me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So we'll very quickly start with a short intro, like a pitch of the LIFElabs project itself.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Life started out in the early part of 2016. It evolved from being a reward scheme for tenants in the private rented sector in the UK. And as the project got underway with the reward mechanism, we realised just how big a deal Life could be with the right resources and the right team behind it. So in essence, we want Life to be one of the largest reward platforms around, certainly in the crypto sector. And it's been a tremendous 6 months of sheer hard work, but we're starting to see the benefits of that now.
Great, so we'll get into more details related to the project, but for now, could you remind us, when did you do your ICO and how that went?
Okay, well, we back in April of 2016, we looked at the ICO marketplace. We absolutely felt it was saturated. There were too many ICOs happening, and we decided to take a view that we wouldn't do a full ICO. The reason we didn't want to do a full ICO was purely because we wanted to do something different. Life was about the people, it was about the community, and it was about those that would be rewarded by Life itself. So we took a view that we would do a pre-sale and we would offer the token at a certain price to different communities and former investors that I've dealt with over the course of my career. And we did a pre-sale and we raised a fairly healthy sum of money and Bitcoin and Ethereum, which really got us to the stage where we are now, which was to be able to afford the multiple of facets to Life that are going to be coming out in the first quarter of 2018. So to be clear, we didn't do an ICO, but we did do a pre-sale where we raised over 10 million pounds or GBP, and we also raised some Bitcoin and Ethereum.
That was in March 2016, right?
Well, we actually did a pre-sale in June, and then the token was live in July 2017.
A few months ago, basically.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
And it's true, the ICO market was completely saturated at the time. It was starting to get really saturated. Now it's way oversaturated. Yeah. So the investors were mostly private investors, like individuals or businesses that invested in the project?
No. All of them, in fact, were individuals. It was important to us that we were approached by two very well-known banks. One was a hedge fund, one was a retail bank, who offered to buy fairly large positions. Now, we did give that consideration. The reason we didn't want to take the money is, and to be very clear, Life was about the community. It was about doing something different. By taking essentially fiat from banks or hedge funds, we really I don't think that sets us apart from any other token. We wanted to make sure that the people that were essentially helping us with the development process in the early days, were individuals that would be part of the journey for many years to come. And with us, we didn't really want to be, at any particular time, we didn't want to be necessarily partnering with a bank. That's why we're involved in cryptocurrency. We like the decentralization. We like the fact that we can spread our wings however we feel. We didn't want a bank sitting on the board telling us what we could do and what we couldn't. That
makes total sense, actually. Great. Let's keep going then. So when you did this pre-sale, you basically gave back to the investors an ERC20 token, the Life token that we know today.
Correct. Yeah, that's right. We did. We made it very clear to them that their positions that they would have would not necessarily in the early days would they get. We weren't offering them huge amounts of profit. We were saying that this is a long-term project. In short, we believe that with all of the development opportunities we've got coming up and what we're going to be delivering, that naturally the consequence of that will drive the price of the token up. So in short, the people that have invested in this are not looking to capitalize or looking to sell in any time soon.
They're providing you with a good support, it seems like. So the project, the concept seems to be, when I read the white paper, a kind of project to even replace the banking system in some fields, like in some complete areas like housings. So what's the main difference between the LIFElabs project and the banks that we know today?
Okay, so by the way, anything that I say on this particular channel, I will tell you are my opinion. I'll speak openly if you don't mind.
Please do.
Where I see cryptocurrency and where I feel that there's a huge, there needs to be a massive change of thought process. Until people recognize Bitcoin as a Bitcoin and not a Bitcoin worth $12,500, or, until we actually accept it as a tender without having to sort of put a fiat, price on it, is the day that cryptocurrency really will be a currency. And not something that is banded around by the banks as a dirty word. So for me, the ecosystem for life is not that like Bitcoin or Ethereum. And in fact, life, I want it to be a transactional token. I want it to be used by tenants. I want it to be used by people that aren't using cryptocurrency today, because one of the biggest challenges that life has is essentially taking this to the mass population that aren't involved in cryptocurrency, like my mother, like my sister, like 100 of my friends that I know don't get involved, and I'm trying to get them involved. And obviously there's massive amounts of marketing we've got to do behind that, and we've got adopters that are large that also have their own social media campaigns that they're running, and it's making sure that we're getting the messaging out there. So the banking system for me is slightly flawed. It's a bit outdated, and I think that given, and this is just a personal experience, but given Lehman Brothers and 2008 and the collapse of the American bank and all of that debacle in 2008, the banks haven't learned. There are still, massive, how can I say it? There are still huge amounts of unanswered questions from 2008 with very limited prosecution. So as far as I'm concerned, I think the banking system is flawed as far as trust. I don't think the average consumer anywhere in the world particularly trusts them. Now, I'm not suggesting for one moment that life's going to, take over banks, or life is going to offer every service that a bank does. But with our platform, our Visa debit card, and our payment solutions that are going to be coming out in the first quarter of 2018, we are going to, I believe, we'll have a very good chance in really getting ordinary people that don't use cryptocurrency into our platform and using it and educating people. So we have a massive task ahead, but I don't see it as replacing banking, but I think we're certainly a better option, in my opinion.
So just to clarify what you're saying here, when you mean life will be used as a currency, I'm not saying, I'm not sure I'm quoting you exactly, but what you mean here is that people could be paid in life and use life to purchase whatever they need, like food or pay for their rents, stuff like that. Just like I do today with my bank. I get paid on my bank account and then I use my debit card from my bank account to pay for my food, for example. So the ecosystem you're talking about is something like this, correct?
Absolutely. I mean, for example, some of our early work and projects, the developers and back-end employees to some degree, have been paid in life. But it's all very well giving people life to be able to use and transact. But what they've got to be able to do is go into a shop in their local town and buy groceries or buy a pair of shoes or whatever it is they want to buy. So we are essentially just saying that you'll be able to put your life onto a wallet. You'll be able to put that onto your Visa debit card on the fly, so immediately. And that will give you the capacity to use a Visa debit card in any shop that accepts Visa. And at the same time, looking at Apple Pay and Android and lots of other options that we're going to bolt on as time goes on. Essentially, we want life to be a transactional token. We have spoken to a few businesses that are talking about accepting life as payment for goods and services, and that is growing all the time. It's a mammoth task, I might add, but it is growing all the time.
So related to that, it seems like right now you have some small family businesses as your partners. Could you tell us quickly a little bit more about them, and then maybe tell us about some bigger partnership that might be on the way?
Okay, so as Life and LIFElabs LIFElabs and its developers, and as things are growing and the community is getting bigger, there are always new ideas to innovate and ways of making, Life users' lives a lot easier by, making a simple wallet where we can attach, rather than having to punch in a 4-digit PIN to access the app, they'll be able to use iris scan, which is a technology that we're looking to put onto our wallets, which is new. So essentially your iris scan, you'll be able to go onto your wallet. So there are loads of things we're doing in the background in terms of innovation, but to keep the whole thing fairly simple, adopters and the whole point of Life is if a customer buys through, say for example, Foodle, which is an app where you can order takeaway, you can order courier services, and you can even recruit a member of staff if you're short-staffed. It's an all-in-one platform, and essentially every time a user uses that particular app, they get rewarded in Life. Now that may be somebody that's not involved in cryptocurrency. So on the back end, we're going to have to educate those people. But as they build up those rewards every time they use them, they'll be able to put that onto the card and then spend their life wherever they see fit. So Send It To, for example, is a global top-up pay system. So, for example, Send It To, you can send, £10 or €10 to Bangladesh or Australia for your relative to top up their phone. And Send It To, at the moment, is experiencing 14 million transactions. They're growing at a massive rate at the moment. They've got a fantastic app, and they're really expanding. And we spoke to them some time ago, and every time somebody sends a transaction or a mobile top-up, they're going to get rewarded with Life. Here's the reality of it. The aim of those adopters is not to just take it, well, it's a reward token. At some point in time, when the token is stable and it has a price that is acceptable to all parties concerned, and the idea is to switch it. And so rather than using fiat transaction, you would use Life transactions. It's immediate, it's cheaper, and it's easier. But here and now, Send It To, Foodle. We're dealing with a pharmaceutical company called Tarian, who are going to be using the Life token to be able to support clinical trials in Alzheimer's. Probably you have too. There's not somebody that hasn't been touched by Alzheimer's. It's a crippling disease. So for us, it was quite important that Life supports anything that's good for mankind to some degree. It's a big statement, a bit bold to say, but that's the aim of it. Now, in terms of bigger adopters, we are talking to large adopters at the moment. And one thing that's very clear is we are fairly limited on what we can say about. But one thing that has happened, as we've been talking to the adopters, we thought that would be a challenge in getting adopters to accept Life for their customers. But actually, it was the complete opposite. Not only were we inundated with people wanting to use Life, we had companies that were asking us, could we offer a platform to our human resources department where we can reward our 10,000 staff annually in bonuses. And during those meetings and as developments happened, we're saying that we believe that LIFElabs needs to have a reward platform that companies can plug into. Now, obviously, there's some of those companies are large, and they have their own marketing campaign and they have very big law firms representing them. So I can't announce who they are. And it's not because I'm trying to be obstructive or there aren't big adopters. It's just I'm limited. But these adopters are going to be announcing themselves in January, February 2018. And we're going to put a reward platform in place where companies can buy each year, they can buy X amount of tokens, and those tokens equal events. So, for example, it may be, I don't know, Employee of the Month for a particular outfit. They win the Employee of the Month and they get a premiere walking down the red carpet to watch a premiere film. It could be that they get to go to Paris for the weekend in a nice hotel and a meal out. It could well be that they get a Ferrari for a weekend. Whatever it is, but this reward platform we're putting in place will hopefully be live by March 2018, April 2018. And that would be a way where all companies, if they wish to, can plug in and offer these incentivized rewards to their workers, their employees.
That's really interesting, actually, because when there's an ICO or a new token, one of the biggest challenges is to find a way to distribute it among users so it starts getting value by being used. And right now we can see so many Bitcoin forks happening, probably because it's a great way to distribute the token on the network, since anyone having Bitcoin gets Bitcoin forked version or whatever you're doing with that Bitcoin. And on your side, you actually found a way to introduce life to potential users that could contribute and be part of the ecosystem you're thinking about. So that seems really interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, let's be real about it. I mean, the plan to take a cryptocurrency to the state of mass adoption is an impossible task. Now, you could throw hundreds of millions of pounds at a marketing campaign, but you're not going to capture everybody. So what you do is you look at the demographics and you say, well, actually, you know, if we did a deal with, and by the way, we haven't done a deal with, but let's use this example. If you went to McDonald's and you said, look, McDonald's, we want you to use Life and reward your customers, you're going to get their employees, you're going to get all of their third parties that sell products to McDonald's like Coca-Cola, so on and so forth. So if you imagine a platform where you say to a very large global player, so a pharmaceutical company that's rewarding their staff, they also have massive capacity with other companies they own where they can filter that through their divisions, their subsidiaries. It's a way really of spreading the Life ecosystem fairly efficiently without having to spend too much investment. Now, obviously, those marketing campaigns, by the way, are not simple. You know, we might want to spread a message, but, you know, a big brand is not going to allow you to dictate what their social media campaigns are going to say. So there are always quite interesting conversations around, look, this is how we want it to be said, and that, well, this is how it's going to be said if we're going to say that at all. So yeah, for me, it was always about businesses giving to their customers. And along this journey, which has been going on for some considerable time, what we've actually found is there's also an element where here it's not just about businesses giving to their customers. It's also about businesses to businesses. So their third parties getting rewarded, to their suppliers, their every aspect of every business can also be rewarded in Life. So again, you're spreading that ecosystem further and wider, and certainly with our strategy, certainly not as much effort as we would have to do from a standing still point of view.
So in order to do this, I think you need to provide some kind of digital identities, as you explain in your white paper. And to do that, you talked about a possible or maybe validated already partnership with Civic, the cryptocurrency that basically works in this field. So could you tell us a little bit more about this partnership? How is it going now?
Just to keep it very simple, I don't really get too involved in money laundering regulations or that element of compliance or governance. Look, I know this from a fact from sitting down and talking with all of the co-founders, hours and hours at a time. One thing we want to do is if there is technology or any other token that we can utilize or any other organization within the field of cryptocurrency that we feel will benefit our systems, operational processes, back office, then we will utilize them. And Civic seemed like a complete fit. Obviously, as time changes and as those discussions go on, which are ongoing, if somebody else came up with a great technology or an enhanced system verification process, then we will always look at it. I know that Civic is certainly going well. We want to work with Civic, but we also have so many third parties or stakeholders involved in Life now that we have to tread fairly carefully. So let's take it back a bit and say, well, okay, we now have a card provider. We now have a facilitator to build our platform and our developers are working with them. But at the same time, they have their own regulations that we have to adhere to. So whilst in one hand, we might want Civic for X, Y, and Z, we may have to still look at alternative systems for A, B, and C. And unfortunately, it's not something that is really concluded, because until we send the cards out and until the teething issues and the system checks and everything else have taken place, we don't know what that really looks like now. We have an idea, but yeah, for us it's important that the ecosystem that is Life also includes and adopts other technologies like Civic and others as well. All I know is that Civic is still on the cards, and as far as I'm concerned, it's going well.
One of the other points we already talked about it a little bit, and you mentioned in your white paper several times, is the usage of payment card, maybe Visa or MasterCard. So that's, I think, super important for cryptocurrencies, because just installing a wallet, as you said earlier, you want your whole family, anyone who's not really familiar with cryptocurrencies, to be able to use them. And installing a wallet, understanding the concept of public keys, private keys, being able to send to other wallets, it's kind of scary because you're not sure. It takes some time to start becoming sure of what you're doing. So you want to solve that, it seems, with payment card that, for example, you'll provide to those employees who will get rewarded in life and would be able to spend it. So first question about that. Will you be the first European cryptocurrency payment card?
No, I think there are others out there at the moment. They may not have their own tokens, and they may not have their own ICO or pre-sale, but there are companies out there that are doing what we are doing. I think for us, take yourself back. I don't know how old you are, and it'd be rude for me to ask, but I remember the day that, there was Visa, but I remember when online banking went into full, everybody then went on online banking, and that's how they moved money around, that's how they paid bills, and that's how they, that's how they dealt with it. But I remember logging on to my retail bank and thinking what a pain in the backside it was, and how difficult it was to understand how to use it, how to set up a bill payment, and essentially how to manage the whole online banking platform. We've basically said, look, for someone that has never been involved in cryptocurrency before, it needs to be very simple. It's a case of a one-stop shop for your wallet, for your payment card, for being able to send your wallets in a secure location to your app or your computer, that the iris scan will be coming in, which is, in my opinion, the best security you can have. And the interaction with the user of Life and the platform, I should say, is that it's very straightforward. And one thing that's important for me is if my mother was using it, if my mother was using it, it has to be that simple, because not everybody is good with technology, and technologies move so quickly that people haven't really caught up with even things like Apple Pay or Android Pay. I know people that don't use anything like that. So for us to come out with this platform and to make sure that people can use and educate people and be there to support them during that journey, their personal journey they're going to be doing with Life, it was important that we had something that everybody could use, and simply.
So currently, what concrete steps you have with maybe Visa or MasterCard to launch this payment card?
Okay, so concrete steps. Well, in short, the concrete steps are simply that an investment has been made, quite considerable investment. I don't mind telling you that it's in excess of £3 million. That investment has been made. In terms of contractual obligations on both parties, look, not being funny, if MasterCard or Visa pulled out tomorrow, guess what? There's not much I can do about it. They are global brands. They are huge beasts in the commercial world. Obviously, from our point of view, the project is going very well, but we will deliver as we set out in our white paper, and as we keep telling people, we will deliver in Q1 2018 the Visa card. I say Visa card because that's certainly my point of preference. I've found in the past that actually MasterCard fees can often be higher, but what we are doing is we're almost pegging Visa and MasterCard together to see which one we can get a better deal out for our end users, because Visa and MasterCard, as far as I'm concerned, you can use them anywhere in the world. What we want to make sure is that the fees associated with those cards aren't astronomical and are affordable for our users. So those conversations are ongoing. But in terms of investment and the cost and contractually, we're going to deliver the card in Q1. And really, without saying that the card is here and the platform is available for you to test today, there's nothing really more concrete I can give you, actually.
That's, I think, concrete enough. You gave us a date and a number related to an investment. And right now, is it possible to pre-order the Life card? And if it is possible, how much would that cost? Or actually, later, how much would the card cost?
Okay, some of those details aren't yet finalised, and I'll answer them in stages. The first thing is there is a way. If you go to LIFElabs.io, you can pre-order your card now. And we have 3 options to the card. And the reason we have 3 options to the card is people will have different levels of life. for one, and it's important that we, have options for people to have bigger ways of, or bigger amounts to withdraw from the banks or from cash points. So we have the three options at the moment, which is the green life card, a blue life card, and a black life card. Mm-hmm. So the load limit, for example, on the green is only 200 a day, 200 euros, 200 GBP. Blue life card is 5,000 per day, and the black is 20,000 per day. So for maybe those investors that bought in the token and managed to buy it at a lower, at 1 or 2 sats, they will have quite a lot of life. So as the price of life goes up, they'll want to probably, have a bigger load limit. But at the moment, the cards are varied in price. And one thing, just to be very clear, one thing we have done is we as an organisation, I can tell you now, are not going to profiteer from the card. We don't want to make a penny, okay? We don't want to make a pound. What is important to us and the group is that we are able to give people the cards at essentially our third-party costs. That they get the card and their transactions are cheap. Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to come under the same scrutiny and the same attack that banks get for going €5 overdrawn and getting a £15 fine. So, €15 overdraft fee. So we don't want to make profit out of this. So we are still working with those providers to make sure that the fees remain low. Obviously, from our point of view, there's always going to be fees attached to the use of credit cards or debit cards, and we can't get away from that. I mean, that's one thing. We cannot. There are going to be fees attached. In terms of the card costs, the reason we wanted to pre-order your cards now and what people wanted is we have to buy in bulk. I don't know if anybody ever knows this, but if you're going to buy prepaid Visa cards, you buy them in 20, 50, 90, 150,000 tranches. Yeah, there's like bulk buy, basically. And so what we needed to understand is we needed to have a very clear picture that in the new year we had a pretty precise figure of what cards people wanted, what load limits they also wanted with those cards. And so that's why we set that up, and we set that up a couple of weeks ago, and people are, continuing telling us which cards they want. And actually, I thought everyone would go for, the black card. And in fact, it's just a mix. Everyone has different reasons for why they want the different cards, I guess.
Okay, great. So related to the card, you need the information, like how many cards you'll be able to order by the end of the year. That's why people should pre-order. And by the first quarter of next year, we'll be able to know when the card will be available. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I think the other reason why we wanted, and as we were talking about the cost for the cards, buying them in bulk is one thing. But what we don't want to do is go and buy, 150,000 of these cards at a huge cost to only have 95,000 people want them. So again, this is, if we have a more precise figure, we'll be able to keep the costs down on the production of those cards.
Makes sense. So now let's talk more about this ecosystem. As you were saying, you're going to sell life tokens to, for example, some companies for their rewarding system.
Yeah.
But then how will you keep that sustainable in the future? Because you have a pretty large supply. We're going to talk about it a little bit later in the project part. But how you can't keep giving or selling supply forever. So will you, for example, buy back supply? How will you make this sustainable?
No, clever, interesting. Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, first
I'm trying to imagine a solution.
No, there is a solution. I think one thing that we haven't been very good in communicating, and I don't think, throughout this journey, there's no book on, how to run a new token. If there were, I probably would have bought it. But quite simply, we control the whole of the circulating supply. Our adopters don't physically, whilst they have an allocated wallet, they don't get all the tokens at one go, okay? So, for example, if we take one of our adopters that rewards its customers with 500 life tokens every time they subscribe to their website, we give them to them in batches. Now, if the price of life goes up, let's just say it went to 10 pence or 10 cents, as it goes to 10 cents, and let's just say it was at 1 cent, then they won't be giving 500 life, they'll be giving 50 life. So if it went to £1, again, you break it down. So there's always a check and balance in terms of how many tokens we're giving. And at the same time, whilst some of the adopters have 5% of the total supply or 2% of the total supply, if the price of the token goes up, that will be restricted. We're not going to give those tokens for them to
just give to all their customers in one go. There are agreements between both parties that it's sustainable. And that's important for us. Sustainability is key. And as time goes on, that as people are rewarding their customers and there's more circulating supply because end users are using them and transacting them and the cards are functioning, then obviously from our point of view, we have fairly good agreements with our adopters that they understand our ecosystem, in order for it to survive and be sustainable, is based on essentially a matching price. So whilst to some degree our adopters have 5% of the market supply, we ultimately manage to some degree the flow of those tokens going to the adopters. And of course, the reason we did that is if a third party, for example, a big adopter like Pepsi, went into liquidation and we've given them 5 billion tokens, what we wouldn't want a liquidating company to do is to use that as part of their assets or to use them towards their debts. So, we had to take a commercial view on our adopters, that just because they've adopted the token doesn't mean that they are completely free from, recessions, from, downturns in the stock market or whatever it might be. So we have a way of managing the token distribution to our adopters, and as the price of it goes up, we reduce the amount we give. On another note, which you mentioned earlier, we are talking about buybacks too. Now, we aren't sure whether we're going to do that quarterly or half yearly or annually yet, but we will be doing a buyback scheme, and that's going to be happening too. And that is definite for 2018, but you heard it here first, right?
Yeah, I guess so. Never heard it before.
You heard it here first. So.
There will be like two phases. First, you will keep distributing the token to these partners at the right price, at the market price. Yeah. And maybe after some time when you have your supply gets scarcer and you can't provide as many tokens to the users, you will probably go into a buyback strategy to be able to keep distributing the token where it should flow to keep the ecosystem alive.
Absolutely.
Is that a good synthesis? Yeah, okay, great.
I mean, in the future, if we take it 5 years for now, let's just say one of the most recognised brands in the world decided to use Life's reward platform, but unfortunately they had 4 billion customers, and they said to us, "Look, we need to supply our customers with Life." But any investor that's involved in Life today, if we said, "Look, we're going to have to fork." We're going to have to fork Life now, guys, because we've got over 12 billion users. I'm not being funny, but I think, ultimately, not that I'm saying that's definitely going to happen, but I don't think any investor that bought 1 or 10 sats would have any particular issue with that, knowing that they've probably got a fairly sizable holding. But, we want the project to be sustainable. We have some really good ideas how we're going to do that. And it's about delivering that communication to the investors that are around now that kind of, have the questions that you're asking.
Wait, when you say fork here, do you mean fork in order to generate more supply?
No. I probably should. No. What I basically mean is if we got to a stage in the future where, one Life token was worth, £3 or €3, and one of our adopters was, giving somebody 10% of whatever they spent in their shop, it may well be that there'll be a time when actually somebody won't get 1 Life token. They might only get 1.5, or they might get 0.5 because they made a small transaction.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, when I talk about the fork, I just mean, in terms of decimal places, it may well be that in our future, I'm hoping at some point in time that, somebody will get 0.5 of a Life, and that would have given them, €1 or €2, whatever it might be. And obviously from our point of view, that's very much planned out, over the next 10, we did a 10-year business plan. We threw that into the mix and it all looked from our point of view that it was sustainable.
Understood. Yeah, I misunderstood earlier.
That's right.
So next question is related to the philanthropic purposes.
Yes.
Because in your white paper, you explained that about 30%, so that represents 30 billion Life tokens, sure. 30% of the total supply will be kept for donations, gifts, and philanthropic purposes.
Yes.
Could you please clarify this idea a little bit more for us?
Yeah, of course. I think in this day and age, I think what some people have lost sight of during this process, and I'm not saying everyone, but some of the community have lost sight of, is that doing the right thing sometimes is not only good for the community, but but good for the ecosystem. And we've got some amazing charities we're working with at the moment that are in desperate need for support. And I don't know if you know, but since 2008 to where we are now, charities have lost huge amounts of revenue from people giving money because, people haven't got the disposable income anymore. They're not able to afford, their luxuries that they, had become accustomed to. And people have lost savings and all sorts. So the mission that we set out with was that if we were going to do this in terms of life, we were going to run this reward platform and ultimately create this massive ecosystem. We know the price is going to go up. Okay, unfortunately, it's a mathematic exercise. Life is going to go up in value. Now, when it goes up in value, what are we going to do? What are the founders and the stakeholders involved? What are they going to do with this great value? Let's just say, for argument's sake, in June of 2018, the market cap is 600 million. Okay, so everybody involved in life is made a lot of money. What are we going to do that's going to change the world? Yeah, we can bring a new Visa card out, or we can start bringing new technology out. But actually, the biggest or the closest thing to all of our hearts internally was giving back to people that need it. So, for example, you take Care for Humanity, that looks after refugees and looks after camps and feeds children, that sort of thing, medicine, education. To Action for Children. Children's charities are struggling with technology, finding cures for cancer, that sort of thing. So we set our stall out very early and said, look, regardless of the value of Life Token, we are going to allocate 30% of this. This isn't a depreciating asset. We're always going to keep that money to one side so that we can support charities that are struggling, that are doing good work. We can enhance scientific discovery by clinical trials, by improving lives of people that otherwise without life wouldn't be able to be helped. So yeah, we're excited about the charity aspect. It's the fun part of life, I think, because there's nothing better than giving.
So the 30 billion, the 30% will come from the current total supplies, from the 100 billion. And currently that 30 billion is being held by Life, by the company, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah. We have a... yeah, go on.
How will it be distributed, and also how you actually intend to select the charities or organizations which will receive part of the Life token?
Okay, so I'll tell you, initially we were planning to have a voting element on the website where people could log onto the website and vote for their particular charity they wanted. So they could make suggestions in the first place and then vote. Because the development time for Life has overrun in certain projects, that's not possible. But we'd already spoken to a number of the community that had different charities they wanted to support. So we had a list, I think, of 12 or 13 charities that we were going to work with in the early days, work with them directly. And equally, it's no different than saying to the community, look, we want you to move away from, your euros and your pound. We want you to work with Life now, and we want you to transact that. We've got the same challenges with charities. Now, charities are grateful for anything that is free, essentially. But, saying to them, oh, by the way, guys, we're going to give you 200 million Life tokens. They're just as kind of confused as the average person. They haven't got a clue about cryptocurrency. So again, there's an education element here where we talk to the charities and explain to them what we're trying to achieve, how we're delivering it, what it means to them, and then working with that charity to be able to either liquidate some tokens on their behalf or they hold them as an asset, and we work with them and how they can distribute that. So, for example, if we take here and now, if we take WaterAid, for example, WaterAid we allocated 500 million tokens to. We are working with a third party at the moment that has new technology where you can put dirty water into a type of tube, and it's got this technology that basically purifies the water, and at the other end of this tube comes out drinkable water. Now, this technology isn't going to get out there without support. So at the same time, the support we give to the charities might not just be Life tokens. It may well be we're saying, look, we'll invest now in a pipeline from here to here. Now that might cost, say, £100,000 or 150,000 euros. And so we look at the project by project basis, which we'll advertise on our community page about. We know in 2018 the voting for charities is going to happen, and people can submit their charities of choice, and also the community can vote for them. And equally, the community can give some life tokens back to those charities if they so wish. So those options are going to be available.
There's something that seems a little bit scary with this system. It's that charities will probably need to purchase things using fiat currencies like US dollars or pounds.
Yeah.
So won't they immediately sell the life tokens they received to be able to purchase whatever they need?
So if, for example, the charities we've allocated the tokens for, let's just say for argument's sake, it's one of the water charities and they want to build a well in one of the African, I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example, but I can't. But let's just say for argument's sake that they want to put a well and fresh water piping in a particular village. Let's just say, for argument's sake, with travel and with getting the engineers out there, the project's going to cost £50,000. There are two ways we can do it. We will work with that charity to deliver on that project in terms of fiat, but we will manage the transactions our end. Now, if that means we buy back, then so be it. But essentially, what we're not going to allow any adopter or charity to do, or big stakeholder in life, what we're not going to allow and can't happen, is we're not going to give them 500 million tokens for them to sell when it's 80 pence and to capitalize on that, because it will kill the marketplace. So we know we have enough protocols and measures in place to manage projects for those charities. So whilst we allocate those tokens to one side and we say, right, this is your pot, this pot might grow, this might be worth 500 million, this pot. But what we do is we'll work with those charities, dedicated charities, and we'll say, what is it that you need? What is it we can help with? And it may well be that if it's a case that they want to be able to help pay for bills for the charity, like a sanctuary or something, then they can just go onto the platform. They can have a Visa card and they can utilize the tokens that way. So it's not necessarily they're going to sell them and convert it to fiat, because that doesn't work for anybody. But we will have it, and I say we will, because in 2008 we'll have a dedicated charity department that are going to work with charities project by project to mitigate those risks you're talking about.
Great. Okay. I was asking because I didn't see anything about that in the white paper. So, well, good that we talk about it now. People will learn about it this way.
Sure.
So regarding the life project concept, we talked about how it's actually slightly different from a banking system, how you intend to distribute the tokens, the payment system, the payment cards, how you intend to provide sustainable growth, and the 30 billion life for charity, so the philanthropic purposes of the project. Mm-hmm. Is there any side of the project we missed here?
Well, who knows? I mean, no, I don't think there is, but from our point of view, one thing that we know that's happening is that for us, the community is growing all the time. And, I would ask for two things. First of all, if you're asking me if there's anything I'd like to say, I think, yes, I'd like to thank people that have supported Life from day one, and those that continue to work tirelessly on the different communication channels. We've got a massive marketing campaign coming out in 2018. I mean, huge. We're hoping Life will be seen everywhere. We're speaking to very large influencers, people you'll know, and we are placing Life in a variety of different places all over the place, and it's so exciting.
So I still have a few questions. Now let's move on to the more details related to how the logistics, how the project works, like under the hood.
Behind the scenes,
Behind the scenes, thank you very much. Sorry about that.
That's right.
So behind the scenes, related to token distribution, could we talk a little bit about the circulating supply? Right now, a lot of people are wondering why the team or let's say the Life company owns more tokens than the current circulating supply. How's that? Is it because of CoinMarketCap, or is there something we should know about it?
Okay, so we'll take this from the beginning. Initially, we thought that the circulating supply was incorrect, and I can tell you why. We went on to one exchange, which was Coin Exchange, and then all of a sudden we started to appear on different exchanges. And the problem is that we suffered arbitrage. And I don't know if you know what that is, but one exchange, for example, is at 1 sat and one exchange is at 10 sat. So what investors do is they buy at the 1 sat and then they place a wall on the 10 sat exchange. But one thing that we certainly, from our point of view, have been investigating and looking into, because it was quite a concern to us, we had delivered to CoinMarketCap all of the wallet addresses that we had allocated. But in that process of doing it, we had a multitude of different adopters, a multitude of different investors, stakeholders, and in one case, charity. And we weren't sure that the circulating supply was correct. And also every time people were trying to withdraw their life from the exchanges, the wallets kept going under maintenance. And for us, our concern in the first part was, hold on a minute, is it because the circulating supply is incorrect? Because, why do the wallets keep going under maintenance? Is it because they don't physically have the tokens until somebody else sells them? And, we asked our CTO to have a look into that for us. But I can confirm to you today, that the circulating supply is 6.5 billion in the marketplace today. In terms of founders and what we hold, are you referring to us having 2 billion tokens each?
Not exactly, just the fact that, for example, there's 6.5 billion circulating supply. Yeah. There's like 30 billion that will be allocated for charities. I believe that 20 billion tokens were given to the early adopters, so the 4 adopters that started working with you.
Correct,
is that correct?
Yeah.
There's still like a bunch, I think it's 39 billion about, I'm not sure I did the math quickly, but it's 39 billion remaining. So why is the circulating supply so low currently?
Okay. So when we went back onto the conversation, we were talking about sustainability. Certainly as the founders, we won't be doing anything for some considerable length of time, certainly more than 2 years. So, and in fact, some of our advisors and the people we're working with, their tokens of reward are on cold storage and won't be going into the supply. Interestingly, you raised a really good point. And, the circulating supply, as the adopters start to transact it, will start to creep up. One thing that won't happen, I'm convinced of this, one thing that won't happen is that the circulating supply isn't going to go through the roof. And I'm not suggesting for one moment that we're going to restrict it. But ultimately, we have the sustainability element for us is important. And therefore, our strategy is to make sure that our adopters don't spend their tokens straight away or give to their customers too generously. And that's a continual process. Because as the token increases in value, as I said to you before, there'll be an element that there'll be a reduction in the amount we give, whilst the wallet will still be in existence. For us, it's about the ecosystem. If a bigger adopter comes along and wants to adopt Life, then we will have the capacity to be able to manage that. So at the moment, the circulating supply is at 6.5 billion, and I don't expect it to go up much more. Certainly, it'd probably go up, I would imagine, over the course of the next quarter by another 1 to 2 billion. So we'll be at about 7.89 billion tokens really by the end of the first quarter. And then I think we'll see a slight increase as time goes on, but nothing dramatic.
Well, you kind of answered my next question, which was related to the 4 adapters that are currently sharing 20 billion tokens. It's because currently the price is low. So you have 39 billion remaining for future adopters, but the price will go up. So you'll have to give less tokens at the moment. You will need to give them to other adopters. Related to adopters, someone told me about some rumors that you might be working with Toyota about something. Is it?
Right. Yes. In short, yes is the answer. I am talking to Toyota about the reward platform, and I can tell you that there's been some very positive feedback that is ongoing, and I'm due to fly to the States in January 2018 to kind of complete the project. Legally it can't be confirmed, but the problem is I'm not sure where actually I don't know how on earth this got out, because I'm quite secretive. Look, I tell you, I'm speaking to some amazing brands. Some of the brands actually that we've been approached by, and I don't mind telling you, we've actually said no to, because we don't want to link ourselves necessarily to those type of companies, because there are connotations about them that I don't think would be good for Life, and it's always important for us that we're trying to link with the right companies.
Yeah, especially at the beginning, I guess.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now about exchanges. You quickly talked about Coin Exchange, and you are also on HitBTC right now.
Correct, yeah.
What will be the next exchange you are currently working with on talks or negotiations? Because there were also some rumors related to Bitrec.
Okay, so for me, and I'm speaking collectively here from the team, what's really important is that we deal with this arbitrage system between Coin Exchange and HitBTC. The majority of the investors and stakeholders like HitBTC. It's got a good track record and there's massive volume there. So for us, we're being delisted on Coin Exchange on the 15th of January. I can confirm that it was meant to be the 1st of December. I have communication from them to say we'll remove you on the 1st of December. They didn't keep their word and now have agreed and have confirmed again in writing that they'll withdraw it on the 15th of January. At that stage, HitBTC, Tidex and Bittrex are going to be the only three exchanges that Life will be on, I hope. The problem is that some exchanges pull the token and pull the contract into their platforms, and you're very limited on what you can do with that. But to be very clear, HitBTC is our preference, and we are and have applied and are dealing with Bittrex in terms of getting Life on there. We need volume, and we need the trading volume to be larger to be able to facilitate the move to Bittrex. It's coming, it will happen, and I personally, whilst I probably shouldn't say it, but I like Bittrex. I kind of learnt cryptocurrency on Bittrex. So for me, it's quite simple to use. But HitBTC, Bittrex, and Tidex will be the only three exchanges that Life will be on, apart from those rogue platforms that will drag us into them.
Are you talking about decentralized exchanges?
No, I'm talking about exchanges I've never heard of, and I'm not sure how on earth Life's got onto them. Someone said it's on here. I'm like, well, how's it got on there? I mean, it's just insane. But anyway, we're grateful that this is, that there is no, like I said to you at the beginning, I'm no crypto expert in terms of my background's insurance and financial risk mitigation and property, real estate, that sort of thing. So I'm no crypto expert, but one thing that fascinates me is someone should do a step-by-step approach of, how to deal with exchanges and how to deal with this. I mean, it's really quite. It's like a maze, but we've made headway now with the exchanges, and thankfully we are going to be on those three, so that's good.
Good to know. So for Bittrex too. Now, more related to the team. So we have several questions about like the communication and marketing related to the team. So
we have a huge campaign coming. That has taken everybody's strength and willpower to get it over the line. And I explain why. We aren't dealing with just one campaign. We are dealing with education for those people that aren't involved in cryptocurrency. We are dealing with different languages, we are dealing with different countries, and we are dealing with different sectors. At the same time as that, we are still dealing with different adopters, and different adopters have different social marketing campaigns, which we have to plug into, and we have to get approval that we can say what we want to say, and they don't say something we don't want them to say. So it's unfortunately we are running multiple campaigns that are all happening in the new year. The reason for the new year is everybody's got now. We decided in the new year, because so much was going on, that we wanted the news to be thick and fast and exciting. But now we're coming so close to the holiday season or Christmas season that people's minds are elsewhere, normally on Father Christmas and presents and that sort of thing, and family. So we're running, and we are going to be running multiple campaigns at different sectors all at the same time. But to get agreements from adopters and to get agreements from the bigger brands and to get agreements with the different type of marketing agency, digital experts, when I'm out in LA, it's Hollywood, so there's some influencers there. To get the agreement on this whole marketing campaign hasn't been easy. And actually, we could have done a marketing campaign and spent, 500,000 quid in producing some Twitter feeds and all that sort of stuff. But because we know that Life is a long-term project, okay, we know who's behind it, we know what's going on, we know that we can deliver a fantastic, multifaceted campaign in education, in adoption, advising those third parties that, for example, if you were a customer of Foodle, for example, and you got rewarded in Life, Foodle need to announce that. And we want customers to announce that. And we want that community to grow really quickly. So I can promise you, for those people that are concerned about the social media today, don't be. There is massive investment going into social media and different campaigns, which cover radio, TV, all sorts of different types of marketing and brand placement, and I'm looking forward for people to be tweeting us in the future saying, oh my word, I turned on this and I saw them wearing a Life t-shirt. So we've got some really wicked stuff coming out, and I'm really excited about that. I feel like that's my early Christmas present. So I just would ask people to be patient and understand that it's not quite as simple as just doing a marketing campaign. Because Life, because of its community and because of the adopters, has so many third parties and stakeholders that need to be happy with what's being sent out.
Makes sense. So related to marketing, we have several persons asking to know you more. And by you, I mean the team. Right now, we know you through the Telegram group, but would it be possible to have a video showing the offices and you guys at work, and maybe each one of us introducing himself and saying what he does for the project? And could we have a video like that soon?
We're doing something slightly better than that. We are going to be running Life conferences all over the place. So we will start naturally, because we're a UK-based token. We are going to be starting in probably London or Birmingham, and we're going to be offering very large Life parties. And we intend to take the team, and this is part of the recruitment strategy and everything we're doing in 2018, is that actually the founders of the business, the leaders to some degree, are going to go on the road and introduce themselves live to people at designated conference facility places in different locations, so that actually we're going to go to the community directly.
That's great. That's even better, as you were saying, because it's always good to know who is actually working on this project. It's easier to support it and to trust it once you have some faces on the project.
Absolutely, I understand that.
Now, marketing, you said that the marketing strategy will start Q1 2018.
Yes, correct, yeah.
Will we have a roadmap with that? Because right now it seems like the roadmap stops at the end of 2017, and the website indicates that the next roadmap is in progress. So will we have a roadmap that will come for the remaining year? Especially, you told us about great news for Q1 2018. Will that be on a roadmap with what will happen in Q2, Q3 when the marketing strategy starts?
Yeah, I mean, the marketing strategy was meant to have started already, as I alluded to earlier on. You know, it was meant to have started. The reason it hasn't is because the projects have been slightly more time-consuming than we anticipated, and that's just being honest. But, you know, 2018, January is a good time to start. People are returning back to work, and all of our resource, I can promise you, we have worked tirelessly. So I can tell you that the wave that we are putting in place for January, February, March, April, May, right? That wave, that campaign, that effort, that investment is going to be dramatic. And when I say dramatic, I mean I'm so excited about it that I kind of want Christmas over. I would just urge people to wait and be patient, and also rest assured that we are working as hard as we possibly can. And when that marketing campaigns and multiple campaigns start, people will see that, and I think will be very impressed with what we're planning and what we're doing.
Great. Will we have the roadmap when that waves comes up?
You will have the roadmap. In fact, I will make a point of asking for the roadmap to be added to the news item on the website by... I've got to think about this carefully, because we are... So, I mean, what's the date today? It's the 6th. We will have that up by the 14th of December. Is that okay?
That sounds great.
I'll make a note of getting that done.
So I guess these were all my questions. Would you like to add something about how can someone get involved in Life right now? Like, I can buy Life on HitBTC or Coin Exchange, and then until the 15th of January, of course. And then what can I do with it today if I want to start playing around with it?
Okay, so you can purchase. Yeah, you can. I mean, look, really, if you're not involved in cryptocurrency already, it's not. I mean, I'm being quite honest here, but if you're not involved in cryptocurrency already, I don't think Life's ready for you. And let me explain why. Because one, there needs to be huge amounts of education, and that process needs to start. Secondly, at the moment, there's a limitation where you can buy it. You need Bitcoin. So if you haven't traded in Bitcoin before, you've got the challenge of buying Bitcoin in the first place, right? To buy Life from the exchange. So what we're saying is, if you're able to buy cryptocurrency, you can buy Life very cheaply at Coin Exchange up until the 15th of January. You can buy it from HitBTC. You can buy it from Tidex. And Cryptosaurus is not selling Life at the moment. And there's a reason for that. At some point in time, and it's coming, that you'll be able to use Life token to be able to purchase other altcoins and Bitcoin and Ethereum. And that's happening too. And that development process has been going on for some time. So how you can get involved in Life at the moment is you can purchase it from the exchanges. In the new year, you'll be able to purchase it from a lot more places. You'll be able to pay fiat for it. You'll be able to pay euros or GBP for it. Or you can purchase Bitcoin and buy it from the exchanges. And at the same time, you'll equally, if you're a customer and you look at the adopters, which will all be announced before the 14th anyway, because there's more adopters that have joined, you'll be able to go on to the
14th.
Yeah,
the 14th of December.
Yeah, that's right. So we've got more adopters being announced essentially, and those adopters, some people may be able to use. So again, the ecosystem of our businesses that are giving to their customers, whereas Life will be essentially also helping taking new customers to those businesses. It's quite a beautiful thing. So it may well be that people can get involved in Life by default if they use a particular app when ordering their pizza or their takeaway. So and obviously at the stage of that happening in the new year, those people are going to need education, and we'll make sure that we've got a platform for them that's going to help them. There'll be support network in place for them. They'll have clear directions of how to use Life and how to manage the platform.
Great. So for anyone interested, you can just follow these steps to get started with Life. And thank you very much for your time. We learned a lot about the future events in Life. I hope it'll reassure some people and maybe get some people involved in Life.
Thank you very much for your time. I'm really grateful.
Hopefully we'll speak again in a few months to see how all this is going.
Absolutely. I would enjoy that. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this interview and maybe learned a few interesting things. We'd be glad to get your comments, remarks, or just talk with you through Twitter at Bulle Crypto, LABULLECRYPTO. Thanks for listening.